Hello and welcome to the Empowered Expat Wife podcast. If you moved abroad following your significant other and are looking to create a fulfilled life on your terms there, this is the place to be. I'm your host, Camilla Quintana, and I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and to inspire you to create the kind of life abroad you truly deserve. Hello and welcome everyone back to the Empowered Expat Wife podcast. I'm so excited about this episode. I probably say that with every episode, I realize, but this is really excited. It's something that I know all of you are dying to know more about. We're going to talk about gaining financial freedom and financial independence with our special guest today, Haitham Sadek, who, by the way, hello Haitham, first of all. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And, I was like laying awake at night because I have a little baby also. So it's justified. And I was just thinking, how funny would it be if I introduced Haitham as Naveen Al-Dasuki's husband, because Naveen obviously is, a name, a very known name in the expat wife circles. And we often joke that as an expat wife, oftentimes you're not even asked about yourself. You're like, so she is the wife of, or who is your husband? What does your husband do? So I was like, that's fun. On today's podcast, I can actually introduce you as the husband of Naveen.
Very good. I'm honored. First time. I'm very honored.
Excellent. So let me give you a little background information about Haitham. He is Egyptian Australian. He is married with 4 children. He's actually an electronics engineer, has been working as an executive in Global 500 companies. He's lived in 7 countries and 4 continents, which is impressive. And he developed this passion for investments. He started over 2 decades ago. It started out as a hobby. It still is. It's just taken him a few hours per week, really. But he has gone from zero to managing multi-million-dollar portfolios of stocks and properties in 6 countries. And I believe one of these countries is Spain. So I'm particularly excited about that because that's where we are living right now, as you guys know. And he is the founder of Wealth Heights. I'm going to link, obviously, all the resources in the session notes. But now let's hand over the microphone to our special guest, Haitham. We are so excited to learn from you.
That's very good. Excellent. I really look forward to the podcast, and I'm very happy. And thank you for hosting me. As you mentioned, investment is a hobby that started actually 25 years ago. I started to be very old now. And when I started the journey, it was at the beginning a bit tough because I did not have any financial education at that time. But I was a bit bold and courageous that I spent a big part of my money, actually, at a certain time. All my money, I put it in stocks and real estate. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of money at the beginning, first couple of years, and then I realized that I need to learn and educate myself, and I did that parallel to my job. As you mentioned already, I worked and lived in 7 countries. So every time I go to any of the countries, I learn about the stock market there, the real estate there, and I would have never imagined that after all these years I will be in that situation. From a little hobby that I spend 1 or 2 hours every week, sometimes a few hours in the weekend as well. And it reached the point that I'm earning more money from this little hobby than my executive role in a multinational company. So when I came back here to the Middle East and Dubai a few years back, I actually had many questions from friends, families, and extended families, and friends of friends, asking about investment and about financial freedom. So that's what triggered me to found the wealthheights.com. And it's an educational blog, let's call it this way, or a website that I give information and steps to help people to build their wealth and to build their financial freedom journey, which is, in my opinion, an extremely important thing that unfortunately we don't learn at school.
Oh, yeah.
So all the things that I have learned is a hands-on, or I attended coaching with some of the biggest investors in the world, or going through seminars, webinars, books, and so on.
That's so impressive. And by the way, just a quick note to our listeners, in case you are kind of like shutting off right now and thinking, okay, first of all, I don't know anything about investments. I don't even have money of my own. I don't even have an income. We're also going to talk about this special scenario. So this is really, Haitham is going to give us strategies for everyone and different scenarios. So stay with us because you are going to learn a lot. Right. So then let's maybe start by asking you what is financial freedom really? What is this about, and why is it so important?
Yeah. Financial freedom in a very simple way, that you have passive income. Passive income means that income without you work. So it's coming your way. This is a very nice thing to have. Coming through the investment that you have done, that it will be enough to live the standard of life that you define. That's why the figure is different, because it depends on the standard of life the figure that you want to have is different. Some people will need more than others, but you define that number. And in the course that I give to the people, it already, I give them the methodology how to define it. And once you have that, you don't need to work. So you go to work because you love to, not because you have to. So because people tell me, well, why do you go to work? Because I love to. And honestly, if I don't like my permanent job now, I would leave. But I have that choice. So that is financial freedom. You build an investment portfolio that will bring you passive income, that you live the life that you like. Why it is important? We are different. You know, we as people are very different. Everyone will have a different reason to have financial freedom. The common things is that I have heard from the people that I give the seminar to, or the webinar and so on, is number one, I go to work every day that I don't like. And they keep doing that for 30 or 40 years. It's very, very painful. So that is a very, very common reason. Another reason, people like to travel the world and discover and learn a new culture and meeting others and so on. But without the financial freedom, it's difficult to do if you don't have the financial ability to do that. Others, they like security. They said, okay, I'm actually very, very tough stories I have about that, because I have friends and family who were working in a very, very good companies, earning very big salary, but because they did not prepare themselves with investment, they lost their job in a restructuring or in a layoff and so on. And then they found they have to downgrade the standard of their family, take their kids out of school that they like, or a house that they need to go to a very smaller apartment and so on. So security is also one of the reasons. Charity. Lots of people has a big heart. They love to help others, but if you don't have the means to do that, you will not be able to do it. So various reasons for financial freedom. All of them are extremely important, and all of them are really easy to attain in a very simple steps if we learn. And I wish we had that at school, but we don't. So that's why I'm trying to.
I totally agree. Our school system needs some revision. There's so many things people don't learn. As a coach, I'm also thinking, so many tools just for self-development and being well, they should all be taught at school. So I love these reasons, and I know, they resonate so much for me, and I know they will resonate for all of our listeners. So what would you say are some practical steps to reach financial freedom? And maybe we can split this answer in two different scenarios. So we could start with the expat wife who has some money of her own, the one who actually doesn't, or not really, and then just the couple, the family. What can they do together? Could you give us some guidelines for these three scenarios?
Yes, look, let's start by few things that are common, and then we can.
Perfect.
We can go through more details about the different scenarios. But the common things, and that's what I try to start my either seminar or a course with. Number one is a mindset, a very important mindset that and a decision actually that we all need to do, that we will become investors, not only consumers. What do I mean is we all have either money that are available to us now, or even a small income. It doesn't matter small or big, or it's actually the mindset of it, that I am going to keep part of it for me to invest. I will not spend 100% of what I'm earning. I'm not going to spend only on consumable buying, and we all love that. We all love to buy bags and cars and nice things. That's no problem to do, but you cannot only do that. You need to have some part. And this part, it will be amazing to be practical, to make it automated. So even if little money, if you have a $10, just put 2 automatically into your savings or investment fund, and then you can spend the 8.
Do you recommend usually a percentage?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the situation, because we're different, and that's come to the scenarios that you mentioned. If we are single and we have income, we don't have a lot of responsibility, then I would really say you can save 30 to 50% of your money. If you are with responsibility and a family and so on, then you can have less. So you can say that I will say a 20% instead of that. But the mindset is the most important one, because that's what will get us to really the financial freedom. Once you have that habit, and the word automatically saving the 10 or 20% is super important, because there are 2 ways of savings. There is one way that works and the other way that doesn't work. The one, I will start with the one that doesn't work. I take whatever income I have, I keep spending, and then whatever remaining at the end of the month, I will save.
Oh, yeah.
I
know that doesn't work. I know.
I think all of us tried. I tried. We're very creative. We're very smart. We will always find a way to spend all what we have. The other way that works is the automated saving. Before even the salary come to you or the income come to you, there is a 20% or the 30 or 50, whatever, according to your situation, that will go immediately to your bank account for savings. And even better, to make that saving account difficult to access, to avoid the temptation that you will not go and then you take money and then you spend. So first step pragmatically is mindset. We will become investors. And this is a decision that all of us can do now. This is number 1. Number 2, you need to learn. And it is not difficult. It is very, very easy. That actually, just to tell you, I started to give this course to my kids. And my kids are the age of 15 to 20. And by the way, all of them understood it very well, and they actually started to practice. So my kids now have their own stock account. It is with me because and they are investing, and every time they get their pocket money, they automatically take part of it, and they said, Dad, this is for the investment. I involved them then because they took the course on which stock. They tell me, yes, I want to invest in the MasterCard or in Apple stock or in this ETF, because they took the course. So
it is so amazing. Let me tell you, I love that. I'm definitely doing this with my kids as well.
So, and by the way, I actually love it more. And now I started to give it to little kids as well, because in all honesty, they have a longer time. So they will build even a bigger fortune, and they enjoy it. And all of them gave me the same comment. Why we don't learn that at school? I tell them, okay, we can learn it outside school. We don't need to complain. So that is number 2 that you need to learn, because there are many myths around investment, which is very important to remove, that is only for the expert. No, it's not. It's very simple. I actually give the seminars to the Coffee with Expat with 5 steps. People who actually, most of them didn't have any information about investment, 0 almost. And then I was really extremely happy to hear the feedback, because at that seminar, it was very special for me. Because my previous seminars and webinars and so on, I give it to people that they have some investment background. So we were talking really technical things. And this one, I had to explain it in a way that a person with no information at all about investment can get it. And after the seminar, they said, oh my God, we thought investment is only for the guru, and people in the stock market. It's not. It's very, very simple. So once you remove the myth that it's for the expert, second, people think that in order to invest, you need to have it as a full time. So you need to leave your job and just do investment. Not at all. 1 hour a week. And this is what I've been doing for 25 years, or 2 hours a week, and maybe 1 or 2 hours during the weekend are sufficient to build you a massive wealth if you do it right. Mm-hmm. So going back, number one, the mindset change, being an investor. Number two, making sure that you get learning and remove that investing is only myth and is only for the expert that needs 24/7 job and so on. Not at all. Number three, once you get the learning, start do actions. There's something I learned from, I don't know, maybe hundreds or thousands of people that I interacted with through webinar seminars or a face-to-face course. The people who did the best are the one who take the session. Before the next session, they are coming with actions already completed. I opened my stockbroker account, I invested in this and this and this, and they come with questions.
So listen up, yeah? That's what you got to do after listening to this episode. We got to take action.
Yeah, actions are super important. Others, they take the learning, they wait for 2-3 weeks, procrastination. All of us are guilty of this one, huh? Procrastination. And then what happened? The information started to be a bit old. They started to build some fear.
Yeah.
And then they don't do anything.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened.
Yeah, that's true.
I have seen this and that, and I can tell you that some of the people who took actions and they took the learning and implement, and that made me absolutely happy. They did some investment decision better than mine. And they were sharing it with me and say, oh my God, how can I miss that after 25 years? You guys are much smarter. I took that and I put it on my portfolio. I love it. This is how, the positive and the constructive, feedback for both of us. So I learned from the team or from the people that I give the course to. So this is a very simple, pragmatic steps for common between all the scenarios that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I stop here if there's any question that you have in your mind before.
I think this was super clear. And I'm just going to re-emphasize that really we all need to take action right away, because I do believe in the momentum that is created when, for instance, you listen to this conversation, right? Or when you just took a course. So I can only, stress that again. And so my question now is, but what does this look like when you have little money available? So what if, just to go with an example, you can spare maybe $10 a week. I guess that would be something that everyone can do, right? $10 a week. So when will you actually reach a point where you can actually start investing? Because they don't necessarily take $10, right? Like, hey, I want to buy stocks for $10. That's probably way too little.
Yeah. To be honest, I tell you something very, very surprising for most of the people. You actually can invest as of $10.
Okay.
There are some platforms now available that you can start with very, very little money and you buy fractional stocks. I invest. I have my broker account, the main one. The main one is Interactive Broker. This one will require, I think, a minimum of, I did it, I don't know, 20 years ago, so I'm not aware, but maybe like a $10,000. Maybe that is the big thing. Okay. But there are other platforms, like, for example, eToro. It's an app that has been there since 2007 that you can invest as of like $100 or so. So maybe
safe and trustworthy, that platform.
Look, I always say that you need to do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Before I and it's a very, very good point that you mentioned. I always don't hear from anyone. Do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Did that for Interactive Broker. I have been with them for 20 years, and I heard from many people that they are good. I did not just hear. I studied them and I looked to the history and the reviews and their terms and conditions until I felt comfortable and I opened my account with them. I did the same thing with eToro. So don't listen to me. Do your own assessment. And once you feel you're comfortable with it, start. But coming back to your question, you can start from very little amount. The other thing I want to mention here, because a couple of quotes, very, very important one that normally I love them. It's just I love them. One from Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is one of the best investors ever that I learned massively from him. He was in an interview similar to what we are here now, but of course it's not like I'm more like Warren Buffett, but maybe
it's just me. You kind of are.
Someone I look up to and I really love to learn from. But the person in the interview, I think it was in the CNBC or one of the American channels, and asked him, your strategy of investing is very simple, that any kid can do it, but why most of the people they don't do it? This was the question. And he said, because no one wants to be rich slowly.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yes, he said, and that's a fact. The guy now has billions and billions of dollars, but he consistently did the right investment over the years. No one wants to do that. Everyone wants to become a millionaire after half a year. And because of that, they never be, even after 20 years, because they always look for the hype. Yes, now is crypto. Now is penny stocks. And they go and sell and buy. And this is not investment. This is gambling. Let's make it very clear. So because of that, they really don't start consistently, slowly, with very little amount, $10 per week, $100 per week, whatever. That's the first quote. The second one is from Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said that the compound interest is the 8th miracle or the wonder of the world.
Okay.
What does this mean? The compound interest. When you put money on top of money and this money starts to generate a profit and so on, and this profit generate profit and this profit generate profit, accumulation of profit in the long term, that's what they call compound interest. So the interest over interest over interest.
Mm-hmm.
That is an exponential graph. So you can have this $100 per week that you put, or $10 per week. This can bring you millions after years.
Yeah.
If you invest it in the right place. So starting early enough with a small amount, with the compound interest and investing, because you learn the right investment, investing in the right portfolio can bring you financial freedom guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. And let's just say someone is listening who's a little older and thinking, well, I haven't started early. What would you say? Is there any point where it's too late, or is there a special strategy if you consider that maybe you kind of missed the train and then you're led to believe that, oh no, I'm not even gonna start?
First, I tell you something that I get some testimonial after the course.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many things that I love about the testimonial because they said good things and so on. And there is one thing that I see it a lot after they take the course that I don't like. What is that? He said, my only regret that I did not get this course sooner. And this makes me feel really that I did not do a good job in the course. Why? Because I should have emphasized exactly the answer for the question that you mentioned. It is never too late. Mm-hmm. Never, ever too late. You always can catch, and it is better late than never. So you start now. The only thing that different in ages is just your portfolio need to be built differently. Because when the different investment categories have different risk profile. Mm-hmm. So, for example, bond is less riskier than the stocks. And real estate is in the middle. Gold is a bit volatile, but it also has a different portfolio role. So when you are at a certain age, you might need to build your portfolio differently to add more into the more stable and, let's say, conservative investment versus someone who is much younger, who has the chance to really invest in a more riskier things. However, the start and the invest, they will be much better than not doing so.
Yeah. So you would say less risk would be gold and real estate. Did I understand that correctly?
And bond.
And bond.
And
okay.
Bond. Yes.
Right. And are there, I'm just thinking now, there are different personality types. So some people are probably a bit more open to taking risks and taking those, big leaps, and others who are very conservative and they value security more than anything. So would this also be then a good strategy and a good advice?
Absolutely. And by the way, this is something very important when I talk to the people I give the course to and so on, or friends and family. Your portfolio need to reflect your character, because if not, you will do mistakes.
Yeah.
An example. So me and my brother, we're different. So imagine I'm maybe a bit more aggressive in investment, he's more conservative, or vice versa. So you need to reflect your character in your portfolio. But the 6 investment that I normally I invested at, and I teach on my course as well, are covering all these profiles. You just need to increase the percentage. If you are a bit more aggressive, you need to increase from maybe stocks and maybe crowdfunding and peer-to-peer. But if you are more conservative, you will have more gold, bond, and maybe a bit of real estate. So you just need to play with the percentage and allocation to match your character. Why I'm saying it need to match your character? Because imagine someone who is a bit conservative. He doesn't want to lose money at all. He doesn't feel comfortable. But he built a portfolio that is a bit risky. There are fluctuations will happen. In the long term, in any of the 6 categories that I teach, you will make money in the long term, definitely. But in the short term, it's volatile, sometimes up, sometimes down, and so on. And then actually use the opportunity when they are down to buy more. But if you are conservative and you find your portfolio going down, what will happen emotionally with you? Most of the time, you will be inclined to sell, and then you sold in the wrong time. But if it matches your character, then it will be great. So it will not happen that you will be emotionally challenged to do the wrong thing. But all this, even this, your question is very, very deep, by the way. All this mentality, we talk it during the seminar and webinars, because it's super important. Peter Lynch said something. He's one of the best investors. He said investing in the stock market, he gave it as an example, it need a primary school IQ. It doesn't need really. It's very, very simple. This is what I'm telling you. My kids, very little, they understood it very well. However, it needs a super strong emotions, because you need to control your emotion. If you're investing in the right thing, if it go down, you add more, you don't sell, and that's what makes the money in the long.
Yeah. So I love this, because we already cleared out such important, I guess, myths that would typically hold people back, especially people who aren't so familiar with this market, from starting to invest, which are, just to summarize again. Yes, it is great if you can start early and if you can even instill this in your children, but it is never too late. The strategy may vary a little bit, but it's never too late to start investing. The second is that maybe someone is thinking, well, I need to know lots and lots about this, or I need to have studied, economics and know about all of this. No, it is advisable that you do your research and you don't depend. This is really important. I mean, for any situation, right? You should always know, you should always do some research. You should know which political party you vote and why, and not just listen to anyone telling you. And the same holds true for investments. So do your due diligence. There are, by the way, and I mentioned this in a previous episode that I'm going to link, about also, gaining more financial independence. It doesn't even have to be necessarily those quote unquote slightly boring newspapers that you read to become more familiar with this. There are great blogs that also write in a more understandable language, maybe, or that just seem a little bit more fun. So you don't need to be reading the Financial Times or whatever. And which other myths? Oh, right. And then the other myth that could hold someone back is that investing is so risky. Well, first of all, Haitham told us that yes, it is volatile, but in the long run, you will gain, most probably. And also, you can pick a strategy that really fits your personality, your character. And if you are very security driven, then by all means, right? Leverage that and pick the right strategy. So these were great myths.
Very, very good. I just a couple of comments of what you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, please.
Maybe more details regarding, most of the people, and this is happening in the webinars and seminars and so on. They give me the feedback that the seminar was helpful and so on, but we want to give it to our kids, and we want to do it to share with friends and so on. Because I work full-time job, I don't have the time. So what I did, and actually started this morning, to record my course online. So because you mentioned it doesn't need to be boring. You read you need the newspaper and something boring. So I will try to translate my course to very few videos that you can listen to, and then you can start taking actions and going and do and starting your financial freedom journey. The number two, as a comment, as you mentioned, because people think it's riskier. So when it's very, very risky to invest. Yes, many people think that. So what do they do when they do that? They put their money in a bank. Okay. So what happened when they put in the bank? They earn average last 10 years in the US, the average interest rate, they earn 0.6%. So this means that if they put $10,000, after 10 years, they will be $10,000 and 600. So they earn 600, okay? While the stock market in the same year, if you put a $10,000 10 years ago, they would have been now 36,000 instead of 10,000. So this to answer what you are missing, but to answer also the risky part. When I put my money in the top 500 companies in the world, the S&P 500, I put my money in the like of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Procter & Gamble, all these things. I put in the top 500. Versus putting my money in the bank. Which one has a higher probability of bankrupt? My bank or the top 500 companies in the world?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Of course, the bank. It's a bank that is one of the, 10% of any one of these top 500 companies. And that's what exactly happened in the 2008, 2009, in the financial crisis. People who were putting their money in the bank collapsed and they lost all their money. It didn't happen with the stock market, even though it dropped 30%. But the year after, 2009, 2010, it gained again the 30%. So for the long term, and since then, it didn't stop going up. So it is not riskier. You know what is the worst risk? And I learned that from Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I love it.
I read that.
And I learned that from him in a seminar that he came to Dubai and I attended. And he said, what is the biggest risk? The biggest risk is the lack of knowledge. If you don't know, this is your biggest risk. Because you invest something that you don't know. And actually, because people doesn't know what I'm saying, they leave their money in a bank. Higher risk, lower return.
Yeah. You know what I learned from that book? I read it a long time ago, actually. But the thing that stuck with me the most, and that leads us to our next question, is that Robert Kiyosaki, he said that a house that you own, but you live in it, is not an asset. Which is so interesting. I always thought if you have property, that's an asset. But if you actually live in it, it's not an asset. So that leads me to, can you tell us about the main investment categories there are?
Yes. By the way, very good question. And I tell you why the reason of the house that you live in is not an asset, it's a liability.
Yeah.
Because the definition of asset and liability is very simple. Anything that put money in your pocket is an asset. Mm-hmm. Anything that take money out of your pocket is a liability.
Yeah.
So the house that you live at doesn't put any money in your pocket. You just spend. You spend electricity, you spend maintenance, you spend mortgage, and so on. So it take money from you. So that's what's the liability.
Yeah.
But asset is, for example, the same house if you own, but you rent. So and the rent, it's some money that go to your pocket and cover all the other expenses and give money to your pocket. Then it's an asset. So coming to answer your question, what are the categories available? There are many categories available for investment, but I like to focus on the things that I have done by my hand for 25 years, very profitable, and so and this is what I stick to it because I have the experience. So number one is the stocks, the stock market, and the stock market is you own part of the company. So if you buy a share of, for example, Apple company, then you own part of the Apple company. Mm-hmm. I normally invest in majority of the money that I allocate to the stock market in what they call ETF or an index fund. What does this mean? That I don't buy only one company. I buy the full, for example, S&P 500. I buy the 500 companies together. This helps manage the risk. Because if something happened to the Apple company, okay, it will not happen to Apple and Facebook and Google and the 500 companies in the same time. So that managed the risk very well, and on the long term is very profitable as well. So that is the stock as a category. The second one is the bond market. Bond is in a very simple way. It's you lend your money to an entity. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you don't own, you just lend them money. Mm-hmm. And then in return, you get interest, you get money back. You can lend that to a government, so that they call it government bond. So you can lend to the American government or to German or to Spanish and so on. And in return, they give you interest back. Or you can lend also to a company, and they call it corporate bond. So you can lend money to Apple in a bond, and they give you interest. At that, if you lend them money, you don't own part of the company. You are a creditor. You're giving them money. Mm-hmm. So that's the second investment category that you can consider.
And what would you say? Like, what would you recommend, or is there a difference, or does one strategy suit certain people better, or certain investment sums better than the other?
I always recommend the diversification.
Okay.
So you need to have your portfolio across all the investment categories. Mm-hmm. Not even that. There's something called the 5 dimensions of diversification that I teach in the course. So you invest across all the categories, but not only that, even within the category. So when you invest in the stock market, you don't buy only one stock, you buy multiple stocks. Mm-hmm. You don't buy only one industry, not everything in technology. No, you need to put in industrial and the healthcare and so on. So diversification is very important. The only thing that it can change according to the people is the allocation. Which one I put more, which one I put less. Mm-hmm. Because that will fit with the personal need, according to their financial goals, according to their age, according to their appetite of risk, and so on. And that's what I really take my time discussing with them individually. What do you really want to do? And by the way, most of them at the beginning, they don't know. So it takes time until they really understand what they exactly need. And then based on that, we build the portfolio with the diversification.
And again, I think it's so beautiful because you can bring in your personality and your values even into your portfolio and say, for instance, I am concerned about the environment. I'm going to invest in renewable energies, for instance, and not in all of it, whatever it is to you, right? I don't know. For me, that's like a big factor. I want my values to be kind of represented in my investment portfolio. And that is something that, again, to go back to the bank, where, as we just established, your money is just really kind of like rotting away, not rotting away, but it's just not really getting, you're not really getting anything out of it.
And by the way, they are using it to give it to other people to invest, just to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I really like this point that you mentioned. Really like it. And for me, I will include it in my course. This is what I'm telling you. I always like to learn from others. I love what you said about you reflect your personality and in your investment portfolio, and you actually pursue the things that are important for you. Like as you mentioned, environment. There are many companies that, by the way, I'm investing in that as well. In all the solar and the wind and so on. There are companies that, by the way, are doing extremely well if you care about the environment. By the way, in the broker that you will have to buy your stocks and bonds and so on, they give you a classification on every company, how they are good to the environment, how they are good to the society. Companies have a purpose. And so on. So you can reflect
because you are making a contribution to the world of tomorrow. You are shaping with your investments the world of tomorrow. So that is so amazing.
I give you another one because it's also one of the things that I care about and I love, that I'm reflecting into my investment. I invest in a healthcare company that build very nice facilities for older people that they don't have a family. Mm-hmm. And it's expanding across the world. And this is something I really wanted to have. It's something I love, and I invest in this particular company because they do that. And by the way, not only fulfilling my something that I like, no, it's also very, very profitable. So it's actually matching both. So I love the point that you mentioned. I come back to, so we talked stocks, we talked bond. There's a very big thing is real estate.
Right.
Big thing. Do you know that you can invest in real estate in the stock market?
Oh no, I did not know.
People, they don't. Yeah. Yes, because there is what they call the real estate investment trust, which is REIT. Actually, companies that you can invest, putting your money through the stock broker. And these companies are buying real estate, either residential or, for example, shopping malls or hospitals, and they collect the rent and they split it among all the people who invest. So you invest in real estate, but you have someone in the middle just helping you with the work. So you can do that. So yes, this is real estate is so big. Category, and people think in order to invest in real estate I need to have the deposit, and the deposit is a lot. No, you can start with very little investing in the real estate through the stock market. Then there is a gold, and gold is something that is very very popular when there is a crisis in the world, and we have many at that time. So when the COVID happened, the gold price went up big time. When the financial crisis happened, also the gold price went up, and so on. So the gold is like an insurance policy. Mm-hmm. When I was in the seminar of the Coffee with an Expat, it was very, very funny because majority, I think all of them except 2 or 3 were women. So when I said about gold, they said, perfect, so now we will go buy gold. Jewelry. So I had to explain that no, this is not the gold I mean, because gold as an investment is different than the gold as a jewelry. Why? Because when you buy a jewelry, you lose a big part of it for the cost of the making of that jewelry. Mm-hmm. But if you want to invest in gold, you buy gold bars, or you buy.
Really important distinction.
Yes, because I know everyone will get excited that yes, we can buy jewelry, and we say it's an investment. So we feel good about it. Yes.
I know. And just as a side note, I know, for instance, my like grandmother and my husband's grandmothers and so forth, they have some jewelry, and it was always thought that it's of great value. And I remember once years ago, I wanted to sell a piece, and then it turned out that actually the value is not as much as you would think, because I don't know, maybe it also changes, the style changes, or whatever reason, but it's not a very safe investment probably.
No, it's because you do at the beginning when you buy, especially the brand names. Huh? You buy a gold necklace or a ring or whatever, and because of the cost of labors to do it, And because of the brand name, the amount of gold could be like 15 gram or 10 gram, but you pay as if it's 50.
Yeah.
You lose. So after a while, when you go try to sell that, they will give you only the price of the 10 gram. They will not the 50. So you lose. So this is why I'm saying gold is good to invest. You can buy bars, or you can buy also ETF through your broker account as well. Yeah, and I explained that. So there are other two, crowdfunding and peer-to-peer, but they are a bit more technical. No need, because the first four are the one that really big. So stocks, bond, real estate, and gold. These are the four that need to have majority of your portfolio around them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And I am looking at the watch and I'm seeing we're actually running out of time, which is so upsetting because I have like a million more questions that I could ask you. So can I just ask you two quick things? First of all, for the expat community that, by definition, change location frequently, and they may also change bank, are there any special tips or any do's and don'ts that you would tell to them?
Yes. I have been in this situation for so long. For 20 years, I've been expat, moving from one country to country and so on. Number one is first, utilize that time to invest and save more and learn about the countries that you are in. It's not your own country. So utilize the time, invest more, and learn more about the countries that you live at, and maybe invest in the countries that you live at. That's what happened. Why I own a house in the US, for example, or in the UK and so on, because I lived there, I understand the market, I learned, and I invested. This is number one. Number two, when you choose your bank or your stockbroker, the one that you will do your investment through, make sure it's an international.
Yeah.
It's not only local. It happened to me. It was very painful. I was in the US, very, very good broker. I put my money there. And then when I was going back to Geneva, and then I was talking to them to change my address and say, oh, no, sorry, you need to liquidate. You need to take all your money and move it to...
Are you serious?
Very
That's
bad.
so upsetting. Yeah.
It's really bad. So for that, no, there are some brokers that are multinational. You just, when you move from a country to country, you just need to change your address and you keep your account. And by the way, this is also one of the things that I go through in the detailed webinar and course as well. But these are the two that I would really give as a tip for the expat community.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, and then another quick question I wanted to ask you, especially for expat wives or diplomatic wives, financial independence is always a big issue, right? And striving towards that, even though, oftentimes it's very difficult to pursue a career and to have a steady income and to have savings and so forth. So is there anything that you would advise these women to do? Either, obviously, they could have their own investment, or if they invested as a couple, which probably would, allow for a bigger sum to be invested. Is there any way that, for instance, like in a bank account, where they can have their name on that too, so that they are eligible to receive a part of the benefits, or you know what I mean?
I like the question. I love the question. It's a tricky question as well. So I need to be
sorry.
No, not very careful what I say. No.
It probably also depends on where you are. I realize that, but maybe you can just give it.
Yes, just a few things. Number one is knowledge is power.
Mm.
Whoever has the knowledge will have power. So it's not only money is not power. Knowledge is power, because knowledge can make money. Not the money can get you knowledge. So my first advice to the expat woman: really educate yourself about financials. This will give you very, very powerful situation. Don't count that finance is only with the husband. No, you should learn yourself, and you're able, and you can. And by the way, one of the best financial ETF that I follow is a woman with the ETF is called RKK, and it's doing amazing, beating all men. So this is number one. So learn. So power of knowledge. Number two, It depends on the situation, people by people, but there are two ways to go. For example, my stock accounts with S are all jointly owned. It gives us as a family a security. Why? Because, God forbid, if something happened to any of us, the ownership goes immediately to the second person without all legal processes. I have friends and clients and so on that I had to be involved in a very, very bad situation because the husband passed away. The account was only in his name. And after now a year, we finally succeed to move the account to his wife. Imagine she needs that for a year. She couldn't access it for a year.
Yeah.
So number two then is advice is if there is a family financial plan and you have an account, make that account jointly owned. It makes things much, much easier.
Mm-hmm.
It is always also to build the knowledge based on number one. It is always advisable, even if it's for small amount, to have your own portfolio because that is the one that you will practice.
Yeah.
So why, even if it's small amount, and we at the beginning of the podcast, we mentioned that you can start from $10, $100, start your own portfolio to gain the knowledge and to practice what you learn in step one. And that also will give you confidence and power. And then you start add more, and then you can reach the point of inviting your husband, say, you know what, let's do that together, and then you move to the joint one. Really, you can take the lead. In my opinion, it's all about power of learning and knowledge and passion, and you take the lead. And it doesn't matter at all the amount. Believe me, I have seen people starting with much less than others, much less, and now I follow them after many years. They are doing much better, and they couldn't imagine. It's just because of the passion, learning, and taking actions.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you. This has all been so valuable and informative, like a crash course. But of course, I know you also have your own courses. So please tell us about them because I'm sure, first of all, this is something that really everyone should learn, like we've established. And I'm sure there is a lot of need and interest for this. So can you tell us how people can learn more from you?
Before the course, honestly, I would like anyone to ask me any question to send me an email because I know that we mentioned many things in a very short time. Mm-hmm. So maybe you have questions. So please send me any question at info@wealthheights.com.
I will link that in the session notes.
Info@wealthheights.com, and also I would like also them to subscribe into the wealthheights.com newsletter because I send every week a very, very great information about investment that actually many people, without taking the course, they just follow this one and they are doing well. They just need to do more effort. So
that's great.
For me, honestly, my main aim and objective is to make sure that the financial education is going to everyone. So send an email, subscribe to wealthheights.com newsletter. The third one, I do actually two courses. One, 2 sessions and 2 hours and 2 hours. And between them, there are a couple of weeks because there are actions and establishing things and plan and so on that we do together. The objective of after the 2 sessions, you have your financial freedom plan with the right portfolio. You have your broker open and you started investing. This is why I leave the distance between first session and second session. Mm-hmm. 2 hours and 2 hours. This is the first one, and I cover in that the stocks, bond, gold, and peer-to-peer.
Okay.
And there is a longer one. On top of that, we make it 4 sessions, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, because we add the real estate, which is a big subject, and the crowdfunding into that. And the same thing, I leave weeks in between because there are homework. And there is actions to be done. For example, if we define that in the portfolio, you would like to buy a real estate in one country, then they have to do a homework of looking to all the apartments, benchmarking them, and do the cash flow and so on. So at the end, we also have the same objective like the shorter one. We have our financial freedom with the clear portfolio, and we start actioning it. the plus I normally do, but this because I love to keep in contact, that from time to time I check where they are even after the course. Some people find it very useful, some people find it annoying, so I stop.
Oh no. I love doing that with my coaching clients as well, and it's so beautiful.
I really want to make sure that the course had the final benefit, so this is why sometimes I care a bit. But when I find they are very happy, I continue. After that, if I find
and people grow on you also, so yeah. Okay, that's perfect. So everyone, please head over to www.wealthheights.com. I will link that in the session notes. Everything that we talked about, I'm going to make sure to link that as well. There are several ways to learn from Haitham, which we just heard of. And yeah, if you have any additional questions, then you can feel free to email him, which is so great and so valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And there was something else I wanted to say and now I forgot. But anyway, it will come back and I'll email you.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I appreciate and I enjoyed the podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We all learned a lot. Oh, yes, I remember what I wanted to say. The most important thing right now is to take immediate action. I think we can do this as a challenge between all of the listeners. Something that you can do, be it to, grab a book, open a stock account, choose a broker internationally, please, pick a strategy, any kind of action that you can carry out right now. Let's do it. Let's go for it.
And let's have the challenge completely send to you maybe what they did, and you can share it as well.
Yes, I will send that out. I will make sure, and I'll tag you.
Very good. Thank you.
So nice meeting you, Haitham, and I hope to speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
And tell you about my brilliant investments in the future.
Excellent. Looking forward. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to share this episode with your expat besties and show me some love in the reviews. Want more juicy content designed for expat wives? Then head over to my website, www.camillaquintana.com, or follow me on Instagram and Facebook at coach.camillaquintana.